Hey everybody, it's episode 66 of the DCC, and this week we have a special guest, Ethan Peverly, a young filmmaker who I got to act with in his films and promos and stuff like that, and so we do a little interview with him, and he talks about like the filmmaking process and what it's like to be a young filmmaker. Also, we have there was the Movie News Weekly, Christopher Robin, Solo, our new home droid Leet, and we've got the animation attack and some great parks news. I'm really excited for this episode because there's some really juicy stuff, real juicy juice. Do you remember that one? Does anyone have kids? There's a song like Juice Box, Juice Box. No, just me. Cool. All right. Well, to all who come to this happy place, welcome to the DCC. Before we get started, please go on iTunes right now and leave a review for us. Do as many stars as you like. Leave a comment. It is huge for us. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, comment down below. We had a huge episode, like 600 people watched it on YouTube and like huge downloads, stuff like that. And then the next episode, no one watched, no one cared. That's okay. But please continue to support the show and hit the like button and all that stuff. It goes such a long way for us. So let's talk about the Movie News Weekly. This week was Solo. But before we get to Solo, I want to talk about the new Christopher Robin trailer because it made I think the movie was made about me or for me or like people of our age and ilk. This trend of the live action style, I'm actually really enjoying it. Like, thank you Disney, thank you Peter Rabbit. It's really enjoyable. Like, it's really fun family films, and we used to have films like that. Remember, like Homeward Bound, right? It's nice to have animal movies again. And we're starting to get scary young adult movies like the Clock on the Wall. So yay, everything's coming up Dale House. Check out the Christopher Robin trailer. It's on the Network 1901 Facebook page if you haven't seen it. I want to talk about Solo. I went and saw it. This is going to be just my non-spoiler kind of review. I really enjoyed it. I had a really fun time. I actually really liked Solo. I liked L3. I liked almost all the characters. There was a couple. There's this one scene where I don't really get what happened in it and why the person needed to I don't know. It was weird. And I'll talk about it in like the spoilery time later in the show. One of the only problems I had with the film was I kind of felt that Donald Glover's performance of Lando was not very comfortable. I didn't really feel like he entirely embodied the character. I felt like it was a character, and like some people have said like some of the performance maybe like weren't that memorable, but I felt everyone was comfortable in their roles, and I just didn't always feel that Donald Glover was very comfortable in the Lando role. It seemed a little more put on than everybody else, and it kind of stood out for that. There are a lot of times where I really love Lando in it, but there was just a couple beats, a couple performances that I wasn't really that happy with, and as a director, I probably would have tried to get a different performance from the scene, but I'm sure they were on a slightly tighter schedule than normal. So, and I love Donald Glover. Like, we know that. Like, you know, I was excited for Lando, but maybe because I was so excited, that was what kind of happened for me. Is like, you know, you get that little bit of disappointment, but boo-hoo, right? I'm definitely not going to go on the internet and cry and complain about how much I didn't like Lando, because what's the point of that? You know, and it doesn't really matter because it's about space wizards. So, you know, yeah, so I really enjoyed Solo. I had a really good time. Dash and Mandy loved it. They said it's their favorite Star Wars film, and Mandy's a Star Wars fan, you know, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You know, she is a 41-year-old woman and liked Star Wars when she was a kid, and she liked Solo a lot. You know, so and Dash loved it, but Dash kind of has that loves every movie he just saw in the theaters kind of thing. But I definitely think it was better than Rogue One for me. And I think what I enjoyed was that it was actually a backstory. They did do a couple prequely plot fill hole things, which I was totally fine with because it was well done. But it was mostly backstory, and I'm fine with backstory movies. I enjoy backstory movies. It's prequel films that I have a problem with, where we're trying to like show how clever our plot was, and you just kind of ruin it. So. Thumbs up for me for Solo. I recommend it. Again, if you like Star Wars, I recommend it. I think the only people really not liking it are the people who, like, I don't know, hate women. It seems to be, for me, from what I gather with The Last Jedi and with Solo, the complaints tend to be just very anti-women. And like the harsh complaints, like the super negative comments, not people's like, I gave it a 6 out of 10 for these reasons or whatever, right? Like that's a thoughtful execution of, breakdown of your story and character development and stuff. And I get it. I can get why some people might not have been a home run for them, but I just think it was, especially knowing the production troubles that it had and what it went through, I think it was an enjoyable film, and I think it will be enjoyable on multiple watches as well, which I think is important for Star Wars films. Star Wars films have to be good for multiple watches. They're not Gone Baby Gone, where you need it's like I only need to see that movie once. It's too much. And people try to do that. Phantom Menace, people still saw Phantom Menace like 7 times, even though they didn't like it. Star Wars is supposed to be one of those like multiple watch types of things, and I think this will hold up. Unlike where Rogue One for me, I don't need to watch it a bunch of times. I just never have the desire to watch it. There has been some controversy about what I like to call her is Leet, because that is what her name is in Leet speak, is L337. A like kick-ass, take no prisoners, like fighting the good fight before people thought there should be a fight to be had. And I really enjoy her. She was kind of cute. Like when I was watching, I was like, I kind of like how she walks. I know that, but it just like, I don't know, she's kind of cute. I don't know if I've thought of seen a cute robot before. I've been thinking about Monster Husbands because of the episode with Meta Machina, and I think I'd have to be. I had said one of my character choices, but actually the Borg Queen from First Contact, right? That was like that for me. It was like that's probably number one of my monster wives. It would be the Borg Queen. I could be her subordinate. I know that's bad. I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I really like Elite. I'm gonna keep calling her Elite. I don't care what anybody says, because she is elite, and she was an awesome character and very vital to Star Wars. And I loved it. I think there were great cameos. I think there was great surprises. I don't know how they kept some of the stuff on lockdown. And some people's theories were totally right, which is great. So, validation. So great on that for some people's theories. And you definitely, if you get a theory right, the Star Wars, you should be happy. The validation is nice, but it doesn't always mean that was always the case, but it did become right at some point. So that's great. And I loved it. I loved the movie. I had a really fun time. It definitely, like the Millennium Falcon, the lore of the Millennium Falcon just keeps increasing, and it is its own character, and it is just so interesting. So, which I think when I was talking with Meta Machina, how I thought it was weird that I never saw the Millennium Falcon as a character, but now it kind of has become a character. So, Well, I want to, before we get on to the Animation Attack and Parks News and my Solo spoiler review, I want you to all meet Ethan Peverly, this young filmmaker, very talented, very draws from Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson, these like great filmmakers, as you know, why wouldn't you draw from those? And he just executes it well. I had the privilege of doing a scene in one of his films. Jude and Dash and I did a bit of a promo for him and stuff. And you can support this young filmmaker just by letting people know about them, by sharing the promo trailer, or giving them $1 for the film, and watching the film and being entertained by the mind of a talented filmmaker. So let's do that interview now. All right, everybody, we are joined here by Ethan Peverly, director, writer, filmmaker extraordinaire. And we're going to talk with him about one of the films that he made, which yours truly is in. And we're going to talk about, kind of the process. And we're going to get to know a young filmmaker and kind of find out what it's like to be a filmmaker. Most of us are just film aficionados. But with Ethan here, we've got an actual filmmaker who talks about his own process. Hey, Ethan, what's up?
Hello, Dale. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is for people who don't know. I don't know if I said it on the top, but Ethan's my nephew, and I always told him, I was like, if you ever need like an adult in one of your films, you can ask me, and I can be an adult sometimes. And so he did, and it was great. And then we came back together and we did like a promo trailer, but yeah, I wasn't the highlight. Jude was the highlight of that one.
Yeah, Jude beat us all out on that.
Yeah. So the film is Hot Dog Estate. Can you tell me, like, we'll tell our audience really,
sure,
what's Hot Dog Estate about?
Oofta. It's not about hot dogs. Everybody gets confused about that because I decided to give it a dumb title. But it's about this small crew of very, very misfit teens. They're not like crazy punk teens, but they're just very, very they don't have much aspiration in life, and they're just kind of going with the flow very poorly. And then suddenly the main teen, his name's Andy, he inherits $100 million from a family friend who died, and he didn't know him very well. And then we just for the next hour and 46 minutes, we follow this teen and this group of incredibly stupid characters, absolute idiots, as they traverse some of the least predictable circumstances you will ever see in film, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely not predictable.
Yeah, that's the main thing that I was going for, was I don't want anybody to know what's going to happen, and nobody has so far out of everybody that's seen it. Nobody's been able to.
It was like your Last Jedi.
Yeah. Except I didn't have a whole fan base of people to upset.
Butthurt fanboys. Yeah. Actually, it's funny being like a young filmmaker. How do you feel about the internet right now? Because the internet has allowed you to, one, make your video available to anybody who wants to purchase it, and it's by donation, so you can give as little or as much as you'd like. And also, the only thing that you're asked to do is to share a trailer or share the video and on social media, because again, you have no money, and presence is the biggest thing for you. So the internet allows you to do that. But I'm kind of in a place, and the internet allows us to do this, but I'm also in a place where the internet allows everyone to complain about everything, and there's no, everyone's opinion is just as valid. Which, that's not true. Even though we've grown up in an era where we are told that everyone's opinion matters. Your opinion matters, but it still can be right or wrong. How does that impact? Does it impact your filmmaking? Do you appreciate the internet? Or are you jaded by it?
I have not encountered people who are aggressive towards me, but maybe the audience you're bringing here might, fingers crossed, bring some haters. But I don't know. I see it as nothing but a positive thing. Like I don't have the money to shoot on film, which is what you had to do 10, 20 years ago. You had to shoot on film, and you had to coordinate everything around that. and it required a lot more technical work, I guess. But now you can just pick up a camera and shoot, and anybody can do it. And so I was able to fully do that, and now anybody in the world can see it. Not everybody in the world has seen it, obviously, because nobody knows about it. But I guess my biggest thing with the internet is that the possibilities are there. They're not we haven't seen all of them grace us yet, but it's there. Anybody can watch any movie, and I think it's good. That's my base answer on that. The internet is good.
Yeah, but you've effectively been able to use it as a tool to kind of like help your process. What kind of, when you are wanting to write something or create a film, or do you write something and then think, oh, I can make this into a film, or do you write something trying to write a film?
It's weird. The way my brain is always kind of working is that I'm always seeing things as movies. Like I'll just be like walking down the street and my brain will be kind of taking in all the information like it's a possible film, like my eyes. That sounds so pretentious, but it's like, I don't know.
My eyes are the camera.
Yeah, exactly. I wink and that's the flash.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never sit down and go, I'm going to write a movie. I'll usually be up at like 4 a.m. and I'll have just finished editing or writing or something, a different project, and I'll be like, oh, there it is. There's another one. There's another movie, and it'll just be there, and I'll have usually they all just kind of come in as one. I don't know. It's a really weird process, and it's not like I don't have anything interesting. I'm not like Paul Thomas Anderson, like sitting down to like eat steak and whiskey to get in the mindset of the character. I just all of a sudden have an idea, and
it's interesting that you mentioned Paul Thomas Anderson because he had a really interesting interview with the Nerdist about his process and about how it's easy to make a good film when you have good writing, or it's easy to get good actors when you have good writing. And basically his opinion is to make it as easy as possible and as clear as possible for the actors to achieve the writing. And that's why actors enjoy working with him, is because he kind of puts an actor's first mentality. He's a filmmaker. He thinks writing is the most important thing, but he's a filmmaker who understands that, well, the actor takes up most of the picture all the time. Like most of the movie is the actor.
Yeah.
How do you feel about working with actors, and some of them are serious about becoming actors, I would assume, and some of them are actors in real life, and some of them are just students that want to be in your film?
Yeah, everybody in Hot Dog Estate is I'd say 99% of people are friends or family that are just, they expressed interest, and I was like, sure, if you're available, let's give you a role. I have this character that I would have to cut if you weren't playing them, so I'll just, anybody who wants to be a part of it can be there. And because there's so much, I guess, inexperience, not in a negative way, because I do like working with people who are fresh, I guess, like they don't have a jaded persona because they've been sledgehammered by movies. But I think I don't know, I'll write the script, and then the actors will come in, and then nobody ever seems to be especially nervous. And I guess that's because I try my best to let everybody know that nothing really matters. Like there are things that matter. Making the movie good is something we want to do, but it's not like there's tons of room for error. And again, I guess that comes back to the new digital age of cameras going forever.
Right.
And so, I mean, with Paul Thomas Anderson's mindset, I 100% agree, because I don't think there's really an especially efficient way to get performances out of people who aren't relaxed or aren't comfortable. I mean, the
Sure.
biggest thing with acting, in my opinion, is just being able to think as your character.
Right. I think you can even see an example of it, say, with Elijah when he was first in, when he played a character in one of your films before, and you could tell.
Yeah.
Sorry, ACODs, yeah.
Yeah.
When he didn't really want to be there, versus his like a scene stealing performance.
Yeah. Yeah, with ACODs, that nobody knows about ACODs, so I should explain that was my first short film. I made it when I was like 17. It's like half an hour long, free on YouTube now.
Right.
And he just kind of tagged along and was like, "Yeah, I'll do this role," but he was also he was a lot more self-conscious, and he was around people that were older than him. He was like 13 or something.
Right.
So he was just kind of like thrown into this thing where he's like a little kid in a shell going, I don't know how to operate. And that was also my fault, because when I was 17, I really wanted to be like Kubrick or like Tarantino or someone. So I was like everybody's got to be perfect, 1,000 takes on this, blah blah blah. And so that was terrible.
Like playing like mind games with them, like Kubrick would do with Jack Nicholson, and yeah.
I'm not against that now, but I'm not as intense about it. But then with Hot Dog Estate, Elijah came in, and he was like 14 working on it, because I think we finished it like 2 years ago. It's just out now. And he was also like story by with me, because actors just kept leaving and joining and blah blah blah, and it was a super sporadic like 9-month period of making the movie. And so I just kept turning to him, and I think he saw me kind of panicking and was like, "Oh, anybody can do this." So when I brought up the fact that he could have a role, he was like, "Yes, I'm into it." And it was a character we created outside of the film too. Like, it was just something we would do to annoy our parents, right. Just screaming at people. That's the character. I don't want to like spoil it, because again, unpredictable. But
he's a great character. Like you could like. I could feel how like some people maybe would find the character offensive, but they're wrong. It's just a take on a character. There's no malice behind it, right? So
no, yeah, he's his character's really weird, because Elijah's character is named Leto, and I don't want to like spoil anything, because I think going into a movie blind is like the best thing in the world, but his character is very loud, and people do not perceive him well. They all make fun of him because he's just completely socially inept, so they call him names and they're completely rude. But again, I think going back to, falling into character, Elijah did a great job, because we created the character outside of it, so he was just able to kind of come in, live as the character.
Very believable.
Which is weird, because it's an
eccentric character that's hard
to
do.
The most dumb character out there. Yeah, he's so loud and obnoxious, and Elijah pulled it off, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and you talk about that you don't have the stress of everything needing to be perfect, and often you'll keep like bloopers or like mistakes in your films, which I actually think really works well with when you do narration in your films, because it kind of narration's always so perfect. Boring. And like it's for the One Ring was gathered by, and it's very, but for you, you use, like, you kind of have narration as another part of the gag. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you stumble upon that, or was that a goal of yours to begin with?
I guess movies are kind of getting boring, like there's so many movies that are kind of like just pushed out of a machine. So it's like my goal to make things that nobody has seen before. And I think the narration you're mostly referring to is ACODs, because the whole thing's narrated. And it started off as I kind of wanted to be like Wes Anderson and have like an Alec Baldwin type narrator that was like, the 3 children do the blah, blah, blah. Right. But then, I think I was like 16 when I was writing this part, and I was like, maybe we can get a local celebrity, someone from Vancouver, like Seth Rogen or something. Right. But obviously that wasn't going to happen. So I just turned to Jordan, who's one of my best friends, and he's a very well-spoken person. But I gave him a character, and then I was like, hey, maybe this guy can also narrate. And his character is very unwell-spoken, complete opposite of Jordan. And so his whole narration was filled with stutters and mispronunciations. And I that continued through to Hot Dog Estate too, but I guess not as much with narration. There's only narration like the end or something.
No, but the idea of leaving in
mistakes,
I think carried through.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I don't think that's something I could ever give up. Mm-hmm. Because first off, if I ever want to rely on realism, I like hyperrealism a lot. I like the kind of surreal aspects. So all my movies are like that. But if somebody's saying a sentence, especially if someone's worked up, nobody in real life is like, "You destroyed me." There's a lot more stuttering and unable to come up with. It's ironic. I'm stuttering while I'm talking about stuttering, but yeah, mistakes are both funny and also they're grounded. They ground people when somebody can't say their lines right.
Do you ever worry that it could take people out of the moment though in a film?
No, I don't worry about that just because I think the best way to act is by thinking as your character. So I really encourage people to fall into their character. And it's I guess it's like method acting, but I'm not like telling people to method act. I just tell people no matter what, even if you screw up, even if a bus hits somebody, don't drop your character. And so they don't. And so every mistake you see, like every mispronunciation, and the other option I mentioned, stuttering, that is also everybody that's doing that in the film is doing that in character, and so I don't worry about it taking people out.
What is your future look like for you? Like, what are you working on next? What's your next goal?
I have a completed feature that is in Hot Dog Estate, and it's called Sunny Child. There's a trailer out, but right now we're going to submit that to festivals. And we're going to cross our fingers that we don't get rejected like Hot Dog Estate did. And I also just in March, I shot a third feature, and I'm editing that now. And I also am working on a short film that I don't want to spoil too much of, but it's a very Twin Peaksy kind of thing. Yeah. And I also did a short film called Sandy Elizabeth, which is on my YouTube channel. And we're probably going to submit that to festivals and get rejected as well.
Yeah. What's your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is, I don't know what it comes up as in the URL, but it's Obama's Spaceman, as in the President Obama, and Spaceman as in, I don't know, David Bowie. It's named
That's
after
your production company.
Yeah, it's our makeshift production company that is semi-official.
Right.
And I mean, if you look up Obama's Spaceman, something will probably show up. And if you add Hot Dog Estate into that search, that'll also show up.
Yeah, and is that where the best place for people to catch? I guess, yeah, because for Hot Dog Estate, you have that promo trailer that it's released, and then there's a link to purchase or download Hot Dog Estate in its entirety, which you can see yours truly in both things.
Yeah, that's if you're a listen up audience, if you're a big fan of Dale, get ready. He's got a whole scene where it's about 10 minutes long, and he's very funny, and it's very good. It's a good scene in my opinion. But if you hate Dale, he's only in one scene. He's only in it for 10 minutes.
He's only in it for 10 minutes, and it's not that great.
No, it's great, but it's if you don't like him, it's not.
Yeah, right.
I guess I really gotta if you want to watch Hot Dog Estate, and again, you can pay whatever you want.
Or nothing.
That's the whole thing. Yeah, you can pay nothing.
Just share it.
Because we can't afford ads. That's the thing. A lot of people watch the thing and they're like, they'll get some ads. We won't. We can't get them. Right. We can't. Every single share matters. And the YouTube channel, Obama Spaceman. Search Obama Spaceman Hot Dog Estate. You'll get something. Yeah. On Facebook, we're Obama Spaceman. Got a whopping 90 likes.
Ooh, that's good.
On Instagram, I have an account. I don't have an Obama Spaceman, but it's ETHPEV. Yeah. And there's a bunch of garbage promotion on there where I'm very self-indulgent and saying, watch my movies and strangers like them.
I was at dinner and I was talking to your dad the other day, and we talk about you sometimes, and not in a bad way. We just talk about you sometimes.
Semi-bad.
We're just two people who have like a vested interest in your success.
Okay.
And
don't we all?
And I was just talking about how I would love for a producer to find you, and I think for you to work with like a producer that has like production experience. I think that for me would be my favorite next step for you. But that's just my opinion. That's
what the festivals are for. If we get into a festival, right. Hopefully somebody. And I've had it for years. I wrote like I think it's 155 pages it's a screenplay that I need to make someday, but I can't do it without money.
Yeah, well,
or Jason Schwartzman. I really want Jason Schwartzman in it.
That every filmmaker has one of those scripts, right? Like Oh, brain not working. What's his name? Duncan
Edgar
Jones.
Wright?
Duncan Jones, right? He has Mute was a script he was always trying to get done, and he had to make a whole bunch of movies and the Warcraft movie before he was even allowed to have Netflix make Mute for him. So
Really? Was that his like magnum opus?
it's not his magnum opus, but it's the one he'd been sitting on for a really, really long time. Yeah.
Well, I guess I gotta finish it then. I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about Netflix movies that there's almost so much freedom in them, which is great when it works.
Yeah.
That I just don't find the films are always as tight as they need to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they're great with series. Like I think
Yes, right.
like Stranger Things. My favorite one is Love. It just ended. It's
Yeah.
I love that. I love Love.
I love Love.
It's great.
Yeah. Oh no, I think 13 Reasons Why. I think all of that stuff, like any of those shows. I think the shows are working well. I think the films they're just too loose, and that like sometimes they're like too long because it's like, well, people are at home.
I was about to say
doesn't matter.
They're always like 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is at least like 30 minutes longer than they need to be.
Most of them, yeah. Because it doesn't matter. Runtime doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like when you're watching like something like FX, and usually it works. Like Atlanta just had their season 2 finale, and it was like all the episodes are so mixed, like they're in terms of length. Like they go from like 22 minutes to 45, and it works for that. But at the same time, if I'm watching something I don't want to be watching and it's unpredictable, I don't like it as much.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, and please support filmmakers when you can. And again, the supporting Ethan and Hot Dog Estate is literally downloading it and then sharing that you downloaded it, or share his promo video that Jude. I would say Jude is like the co-star in. Probably he co-stars in it.
Yeah, it's like it's weird. It's basically like 5 different scenes that all have a different focus, and Jude is the focus of the first one, and probably the best one. I think he was really good. Yeah,
he was funny.
And that's like 10 minutes. It's basically like a mini episode of like Monty Python or something, where it's just the crew and cast that were able to come down were like goofing around and
it's fun and
having fun.
Yeah, having a laugh.
Having a great old time.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ethan. Thanks for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you, audience members of Dale's show that will watch the movie. If you do, please do it.
Yeah,
watch.
I think we will get some of them. I'm sure Jay.
Snatch them up.
I'm sure Jay will probably check it out. He's
Jay.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, that was our interview with Ethan Peverly. Again, please support as much as you can, just like you support this show, because we appreciate it. And all these people need support to keep their egos going. With that, let's do an animation attack. There's gonna be a new IP for Disney. Okay, first off, I didn't plan that. Great rhyming. I was a lyrical poet and I didn't even know it. Oh my gosh, I just did it again. Dragon Empire is this new IP that's kind of going around. The rumors are going around that Disney is making and is moving ahead fast on Dragon Empire. Very excited, because that means we're gonna get a fantasy movie from Pixar and a fantasy movie from Disney, and I couldn't be more excited about two of those things. There's not much information about it, but again, it's a new IP, which is very exciting. So maybe this means that the revival era isn't dead, or maybe it's the beginning of a new era. Maybe we're gonna go back to a more standard fantasy era, or something along those lines, because they were trying to do Giant before and that got canceled. So who knows? Maybe Disney is trying to kind of maybe touch back in the fantasy realm. Also, June 9th and 10th, the Big Hero 6 animated TV show is coming out, which is great. Even though, for whatever reason, some people hate on Big Hero 6, and I don't know how. Like, I get that people think Frozen's overrated, which, again, that doesn't mean something's bad. But I just don't get the hate for Big Hero 6. It's either you might not like the content, but other than that, it's a entertaining film. Like, I don't really know what more you wanted from Big Hero 6. Maybe it didn't feel Disney enough for you. But, you know, there are people who think that no movie after the golden era feels Disney enough. Right. So, yeah, I don't really know. So leave comments down below or send me a comment on why you think why you like Big Hero 6 or why you don't like Big Hero 6. I want to know why. People always just say their opinions. Like, I don't really care about opinion. I care about reason. Like, I like to know the whys of things, right? I want to know people's thought processes, and then we can dissect them and challenge ourselves and maybe change our opinions. Right? Oh my goodness. Could ever do that. And yeah, so I just want to check that out. I'm excited for Big Hero 6's show, and I want to know what people think, if they're excited for it. Because this is adding to Disney's growth in the cartoon show world, which I'm excited for, because there needs to be more Disney cartoons. Like last week when we talked about DuckTales. I got a little bit of parks news here for you. Confirmation: Galaxies Edge opening in Disneyland of summer 2019. So, plan now. I would plan for maybe August or September. If you do it, 2019, you'll get to go Galaxy's Edge, and you'll probably have the time of your life in the jam-packed. It's going to be jam-packed for a really long time, so you might as well go now and experience it as quickly as possible and consume it all and be enjoying and enjoy the new rides and kind of see where Disney's going to start going with their ride technology. I really do hope, though, that we don't start getting a bunch of motion rides. Again, I think it's the worst thing about Universal Studios is that everything is a motion video ride. Just so boring. And it's fine using that technology from time to time to enhance a ride, but to only really use that, I don't know, it's just kind of boring for me. I'm not really about that. And I was Canadian, listen to how I said about. A boot. I don't know. Do we say a boot? I don't know. I wouldn't know. But yeah, so Galaxy's Edge 2019, and then it's going to be in October or November, which means November, in Hollywood Studios in WDW. So that's great. I mean, it's coming along. It's one of those things that actually didn't really seem as long. I don't feel like it's been this huge wait. I don't know. To me, it got announced and now it's kind of like almost done. Usually these things are like 5-7 years. You know, Corey talked about that the new Fantasyland's probably going to expand to Disneyland, which, that would be nice. It'd be really nice to have a better Fantasyland. I think it's really lacking. For me, though, I think Tomorrowland is the one that needs the most attention. But I can see how improving Fantasyland first, I think in the long run, would actually be better for Tomorrowland. So, yeah, you know, some big changes coming at the park, and I love the park, and I need to go again. I get withdrawal syndromes, and it's hard. It's really hard. Okay, so this is where I want to talk about the Solo spoiler-filled, spoiler-tastic information. So, yes, let me give you this warning. You can turn it off, or you can go do something else, or you can listen, or whatever. I don't care, but just so you know, after this moment, there's going to be spoilers about Solo. Oh my god, Darth Maul. I did not expect Darth Maul to be in Solo. I am blown away by it. I am so excited for it, even though we know how he dies because Star Wars Rebels. I am so excited for the fact that they brought Maul back in, and in essence, it improves. One, it makes Phantom Menace not totally worthless, and it is improving the prequels. I think that there are a few things that have been happening with Star Wars in the sequel trilogy that have improved the prequels retroactively, which is good because they need some help. So I was super excited about that. I love that we now have an explanation for why the Millennium Falcon is so quirky and unique and referred to as a she, even though they call ships she's and stuff like that. But I love it. I love that L337 is in the Millennium Falcon. And, you know, if you noticed, right, at the end of Solo, he had to hit the nav to hit it just like Leet did, but they didn't have to do stuff like that with the Millennium Falcon before they put her essence into the ship. So it just makes it richer, kind of gives life and character to the Millennium Falcon, and kind of maybe is why the Millennium Falcon has this presence about it. Why the Millennium Falcon's kind of able to, you know, be there for characters in different ways. It just, yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I watched it and I just thought it was cool to have this droid that was trying to free the droid slaves, which I always thought was a weird thing that they didn't really talk about. And even like Luke, how he's, you know, the way he is about the droids, and, you know, everyone's a little kind of like doesn't really pay the droids much attention. Obi-Wan Kenobi's kind of racist. Like, Star Wars is a racist world. There's basically 3 tiers. According to the Empire, there's 3 tiers. There's like the humans or commons or whatever, the humans. And then there's like alien, like core alien. And then there's outer rim aliens, but we put them all kind of the same. And then everyone, though, is like racist against droids. Like, no one cares about droids. Everyone wants them to shut up. Like, even like, look at how Leia and everyone and Han treat C-3PO. Like, you wouldn't treat a person like that. They treat him that way because he's a droid. And I loved the little droid rebellion. And I was shocked when I left the theater that people were mad. And when I say people, mostly men. And then they were saying it was like feminist propaganda. And it was like I guess you could see, like, to me, if you think that L337 was feminist propaganda, that means you're acknowledging that women are treated like slaves, which is strange to me because most of these people are saying some other things that are hateful. That, you know, it's weird. It's like when people came out and were like, The Force Awakens is an allegory for Donald Trump, and like, you shouldn't be making this film. And it was like, wait, what? Did you, the fan of Donald Trump, compare Trump to Snoke? Like, huh? Doesn't that mean you see the parallels? Because no one else did. So, yeah, it's weird. I didn't expect that at all. I didn't think people would hate that character. Didn't find the character annoying at all. Like, someone, Danny was like, you know, I had no problems with Solo. You know, I didn't think the droid jokes were very funny, and I never really thought the droid jokes were jokes. I just kind of thought they're droids. They're kind of goofy and bumbling. Like, we've seen those. You know, when I was watching The Phantom Menace as a kid, I wasn't like giggling and laughing about all the droids and like how stupid, like Roger and all that. I wasn't like hee like it, because they're not jokes. They're just like, it's just like a goofy behavior. They're just, that's kind of the way the droids are in this world. And but also those moments are for kids. So when you're in your 30s or you're a 19-year-old, it's okay if you don't really think it's that funny. It's not all, and not everything is for you. I know this is a hard thing to grasp, but not everything that is made in the world is for you, no matter who you are, and that's okay. You know, like, there again, the things I'm seeing and reading about when like people go after Rose, and it's weird that it's so funny that people are comparing Rose and L337, which, from what I gather, as soon as you have a female character takes any sort of prominence in a role, and she isn't what you would call classically attractive from a film standpoint, there's a huge judgment thrown at them. And because she's a robot, huge judgment thrown at her, and because of, I would guess, of her body type, for Rose, I don't know why. I don't know why people would think Rose is unattractive. She's a beautiful, strong woman. So like, I don't really I don't even know why. I'm not going to try to give a reason why, but it's weird that people are comparing those two characters. And then people are saying like I wish there was Jar Jar was back, and it's like, okay. Okay. So we're getting to a point now where men are so anti-women that they would prefer racism over women, which makes sense because it's how you would be able to get Barack Obama elected and not Hillary Clinton. That's basically is that people are less racist than they are sexist. But that's just my observations of the actions of large groups of people. And I know I'm generalizing. I get that. I'm using logical fallacies. I'm creating a false dichotomy. I get that. I understand those things. But I can't help but see and watch and see these things. And when a dear friend of mine is just like, I'm over fanboy culture so hard. I don't want to be associated with fanboys. I don't want fanboy friends because the fangirl culture has been way more fun. I was having these same arguments with dudes, 20 years ago, and with women, they're not arguments, they're just enjoyable conversations about things that we like. And I miss just talking about, obviously me and my close friends, we can geek out together, and there's not a ton of judgment and anger and hate, but the guys are just ruining it. It's just not fun. I can't enjoy Solo for more than 3 hours before my friend is being brutally attacked for enjoying a character. It's Star Wars. If you're attacking people for the things they like, you don't get Star Wars. If you think Star Wars isn't for you anymore, you don't get Star Wars. If you think Star Wars is liberal propaganda now, you never got Star Wars. You never got it. You never understood it. And that's okay. But just know that you don't get it. And that's okay. But you should probably not participate in the conversation so much because you don't get it. And that's okay. But you don't get it. And you obviously don't get it. Do you think Luke Skywalker would go on, right? Because I'm going to guess most of the butthurt anti-Luke Skywalker boys are the same as the ones who are complaining now. Do you think Luke Skywalker would have gone online and started attacking women for liking stuff? Your precious Luke Skywalker, who's this great hero and should have never been tarnished and made the way he was in The Last Jedi. You're not behaving like the things that you like. It's I don't get it. We like Disney content, and then we are afraid of socialism. And it's Disney content is all super pro socialism all the time. I never get it. It's so bizarre. It's all about equality and acceptance and understanding, and learn from the metaphors that these movies are giving you. We are in a generation where we have endless amounts of content that teach us metaphors and how to be better people. And we're ignoring them and getting mad that it isn't exactly the way that it was. Solo is very Star Wars-y. We heard music and score music that we haven't heard in a really long time in Star Wars films, and it was awesome. I loved it. The Kessel Run, loved it. I think people just... I think that if you have a friend or if you know someone who's left a negative comment like that, call them out. It doesn't have to be an attack, and it doesn't have to be on the internet, but in person. Tell your friend, be you're not helping the problem. You're adding to a problem. You're making the internet uncomfortable for everybody. And this mentality, how many people are well, if you're gonna make videos on the internet or if you're gonna make content, you have to deal with all the negative comments. Why? Why do we have to deal with that? That's not true in any situation. I don't go to work and it's well, you just have to deal with negative comments all day. You just have to have people attack how you look and your intelligence all day. Well, no, because people don't behave that way to each other. But because we've accepted that it's something that happens on the internet, It's where it happens. And we shouldn't accept that. None of us should be accepting what is happening on the internet to everybody. We're all involved. It's not a woman's issue. It's not a men's issue. It's not a race issue. It's humans are mistreating each other because we've said the internet is a place where you can mistreat each other. And I'm over it. It's exhausting. I hate seeing these people that I care about taken apart, and you just have to be like, yeah, you just got to ignore it. Why? In what other place would we ever ignore something like that? Would you sit at your office desk? Would you sit on the bus? Have you seen someone being attacked and harassed on the bus and just sat there and watched it? There's getting involved and maybe being afraid but there's ways to be involved that aren't physical and don't add to the negativity, but just let people know that, hey, there's a spotlight on you. Like, people are watching. People do care. I care about so many people, and I see them on the internet attacked by these people, and they're not just trolls. Like, I think the classification of troll has made it so, again, we can brush them off, but it's serious. It's a serious problem. These are just people mistreating people for just liking something. You know, it's just so bizarre. Anyways, I'm just exhausted by it, and I just want to be able to enjoy Star Wars again. You know, I would say since The Force Awakens, Star Wars has been less enjoyable because of the people, not because of the movies, because of the people. Well, this has been episode 66 of the DCC. Thank you so much for spending your entertainment time with me. Yeah, it means a lot to me. Please support us in any way you can. Again, we're trying to build our community, and so people have a safe place to go to. And I know I went on a little rant there, but it wasn't directed at you. It's just, I'm just passionate about it. And I'm all alone. I'm not doing, I don't have someone to talk to, so I got to talk to you directly, listeners. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who's on YouTube, and I thank you for coming. And if you have anything to say, like, again, constructive, positive, whatever, let me know on Twitter at Dale Wentland, Instagram at Network1901, or at Dale Wentland, in the YouTube comments, on iTunes, however you wish to leave those comments for me. I'll check them out. Facebook is another way to do it. And with that, I will see you in a galaxy far, far away. Bye, double hand wave. Patreon subscribers actually got a little special goodbye, and only they know what it was. So sign up to Patreon and you'll know what the special goodbye was the other day for my deep dive on Deadpool, where I got deep into Deadpool. That doesn't sound right.